If you grew up in a house where your parents were always arguing, after some time, that energy would rub off on you. Then, when you get into a relationship, you might find yourself quick to engage in arguments. You might find yourself unconsciously projecting that energy because you unconsciously picked it up. You picked it up while you were growing up. And to you, you're not really going to see anything wrong with that because you picked that up from the people that were closest to you. And it seemed natural. It seemed like it was what happened in relationships. But once you realize that you're not comfortable under that vibration of thought, once you realize that somebody else is affected negatively from you engaging in that which we would like to call toxic, once you realize that and you say you're going to break that pattern, you're going to put an end to that, you've literally liberated yourself psychologically. That is an elevation, right? If you grow up in a household where certain food products are being consumed just for the taste of it, and you know that it is working against you physically, and you don't apply yourself accordingly, you're going to find yourself repeating patterns that are working against you. Welcome to the Chosen's Path. Today we're going to be talking about breaking old patterns from within yourself, right? Because for you to continually engage, that is because the pattern has been installed within. But then once you recognize the pattern, that's just the first step, right? Because you can recognize patterns, but if you don't do anything about the pattern, then you are going to remain mentally enslaved to that. So you already realized that a lot of the patterns that you unconsciously projected, one second, a lot of the patterns that you unconsciously projected did not come from within yourself, as in you were born with those patterns. A lot of those patterns came as a result of it being installed through your environment, the people around you, the people that you grew up with, right? Your co-workers, and the stuff that we ingest from the media. You've already recognized at this given point, for you to even be with me right now, I'm sure that you have recognized that even some of the things that you say is as a result of conditioning, is as a result of you picking it up from your past. And so now you've also realized the importance of breaking free of old patterns if you truly want to ascend to reach certain heights. They say certain people are more prone to getting, high cholesterol, high blood pressure. And if you grew up in a family where people eat foods that would get you to, be more prone to having high blood pressure, and you don't break that pattern, you don't break that cycle, 9 times out of 10, you're going to find yourself catching that. And so now we're at that intersection, we're at that interval where we're saying we can no longer blame others for downloads that we picked up on way from the childhood, right? It's not even as if a lot of times the people that we're bleeding on are the ones who hurt us. A lot of times the people that we're bleeding on are the ones that are actually looking to see us heal, right? A lot of times we're not even conscious of these unconscious regurgitated actions, words that we spew out that works against us, that creates a reality that is not so conducive. We're not even aware of it, and we're not seeing that it is a pattern loop. But here on the Chosen's path, we're always going to tap into all of this and address it accordingly. We are now at that point where we are realizing the importance of transcending. We're seeing that it is time to ascend. And the only way that we can really, really ascend is by paying close attention to those old patterns. So this is like a follow-up video of the one before this one. We're talking about emotional intelligence. Now with this, we're talking about recognizing old patterns and seeing where these old patterns stemmed from. And then doing everything to put an end to it. And we have to cultivate better habits. There is the saying that it is very difficult to teach an old dog new tricks, right? But it depends on the intention, the desire, and the will of the one feeling the need to experience something better. If you feel it within yourself that you want to experience something different and you feel like mentally you're being held back, sometimes you might want to think that somebody's casting a spell on you, and that's part of it too. Sometimes you might want to think that somebody's responsible for the setback, and that is true. That is part of it. But there is someone that actually can do something about it, and that someone is you. Once you realize that there is this weight, once you realize that there is something that is holding you back, 9 times out of 10, you have to go within yourself and recognize what pattern, what stronghold is it. Because once you attain that inner clarity, once you attain that inner alignment, it is much more easier to not be held captive by those external factors, those external forces that initially got you to be in that state. My dear listeners, today we just tapped into breaking old patterns so we can literally attain the internal liberation that we desire. If it requires you seeing a therapist, then that is what you have to do. If it requires you sitting with your own thoughts in meditation and contemplation and doing everything to attain that state where you're not bitter, but you are really at peace, then that is what you have to do. If you have to consult a coach, whatever the case may be, tap into it, because now is the time for us to put on that coat, the coat of our best selves, and it is a manifestation from within. I'm gonna go ahead and cut it right there. This right here was just to sum up the last 2 videos that we did. Thank you all so much for listening. Thank you so much for tuning in. Sending you love and higher light. You stay prayerful. Stay in alignment with your higher self. And remember, with clarity, there is peace. With alignment, there is peace. And with structure, you maintain your peace. Until next time, stay blessed.